Alright, welcome back to Miss Lee Makes It Easier, and we are really progressing in functions. So I think we only have about one more episode in functions, thinking that's it at this level. And now we're at episode 2, so it matches. So functions part 2, episode 2. Yay! I feel great, so you should be feeling ecstatic. Now, we're in the compositions of mapping and functions. The notation for composite functions is such that you have your domain, which represents x. If you move it from your domain to your codomain, whatever is in your codomain is f of x, right? Makes sense? And then composition now, if you're going further than the codomain, you would have g of f of x, because g will contain all that is in f of x. So it's a stepwise process. And I know you're going like, what? Oh my God, I just finally understood inverses, and now she's coming with this. That's life, people. That is life. Hurdles. So I'm going to carry you over this hurdle as easily as I carried you over the previous hurdle. Okay? So let's try these. So here we're going to do a composite. Okay? So we're going to start with what we know. And we're going to go with f of x, which is f of 3 equals to x plus 2. So wherever x is, we're going to substitute that with the number 3 like it requests. And this will give us 3 plus 2, which is equal to 5. So this is f of 3. And now we have g of 2. So g of 2, wherever x is, we're going to replace it with a term. Remember I told you, whenever you have a number close to a letter, you're multiplying. It's as simple as that. You're multiplying. So b is really a times b. Okay? So in this case, we're going to say 6 times 2, and this gives us 12. Okay, we understand that. You understand that? That is not hard. Okay, so now we're going to do f of g of 2. We already calculated what g of 2 is, which is 12. But we're going to work it backwards. So since we did g of 2, whenever you have something like this, where you have f, g, the number, you're going from right to left. So you're going to work out this section first, and then whatever you get here is now going to be f of x. So whatever answer you get here will now be f of x. Okay? So first, let's say we did g of 2. G of 2 is equal to 12. So f of x. Did I put it down? Yes, so f of x here, which is x plus 2, I'm going to just say f of x is equal to x plus 2. Right? So we already found out what g of 2 is. Right? So if g of 2 is equal to 12, and remember this is actually f of x, then it is f of 12. So whatever we got here is 12. So this is 12. And remember I told you this is actually f of x. And so we already worked out what g of 2 is, so we just stick in the 12 right here. And so therefore this will be 12 plus 2. So this is now our x. The 12 is now our x, and that will give us 4t. So now we're doing g of f of 3. We found out what f of 3 is. So remember, this, we know f of 3 is 5. We found that out, which is here. Okay? So therefore, this represents g of x. So then this is actually g of 5. So whatever g is, remember here, g of x is equal to 6x. So see, the 5, you're going to replace the x with 5, and you're going to just do this. 6 times 5 equals to 30. Okay? So that's all you're doing. That is all that you're doing. Okay? So I hope you understand this part. But let me show you something else. Down here, okay, you have these answers. I hope you do. I hope you have these answers. Okay? Let's take out all of this. This is the same as saying wherever G is, you see G is 6x, right? F of 3, which is this right here, is going to replace the x. So you're going to put 6 times x plus 2. That's what you're really saying. Okay? That's exactly what you're saying. But we would have already calculated what f of 3 is, which is 5. And since we already calculated that, all you have to do now is replace that in here. Because you would have already calculated the function right here. So you stick it in here and that will give you 30. Okay, so let's do another set. Two functions f and g are defined by f of x is equal to half x and g of x is equal to x minus 3. So we're going to find out what f of 6 is. And remember, the 6 is going to replace the x. So we just say a half times 6. That goes in this and you're left back with 3. Now g of 6 is basically you're going to replace the 6 with the x with the 6. And it says 6 minus 3 equals to 3. Okay? So you got the same answer using two different ways. Okay? Now it says f of g of 6. So what you're going to do is use the same layout. Right? And whatever answer you got for g of 6 here, you're going to just stick it in for x. So you're going to say now f, which is a half. This is basically saying f of x, but once you find what g of 6 is, you just say f of 3. So that's basically that. And so you're going to end up with 3 over 2. So whatever answer you got for this answer goes here. So this is like saying f of 3 using this function up here, this operation, right? And then you just stick it in here because you would have done it already. Now g of f of 6. Okay, so again you would have found out what f of 6 is, and f of 6 is 3. So this is g of 3, right? You realize that? This is g of 3. So therefore, if you have g of 3, you use the same operation here, and you say, okay, this is going to replace the x. So 3 minus 3 will equal to 0. Yay! Alright, so look over that. Okay, now we're going to learn to write expressions. So, if f of x is equal to 2x plus 1 and g of x is equal to 3x, write an expression for f of g of x. All you gotta do, peeps, is look for whatever f is, f of x. So f of x, remember you're starting with this, so f of x is equal to 2x plus 1. Okay? And so, wherever x is, you're gonna stick g, the whole operation for g, in there. Okay? So, here we go. 2, what is x? That is g. So you stick the whole 3x times 3x plus 1. So that is f of g of x. Okay, so wherever x is, you take the whole operation for the g of x and you replace the x with the operation for g of x. And here we have this one now, g of x. So look at that, the operation for g of f of x. So the operation for g of x is 3 of x, 3 times x. So 3 and whatever f of x is, you replace x with it. So you're going to put 2x plus 1. Alright guys, this was a lot to swallow. In my next video, episode 3, guess what? I'm probably going to do some questions. I might just move on, and then when I'm done the entire function set, we could do some questions, okay? So I prefer it that way. Let me move on to the next section, and then we could do some questions together. But this wasn't so hard. It was a lot to swallow, but if you do it in bits and pieces, you will be good. Alright, all I could tell you is this is a really good book, okay? And what I suggest is that you go down to your local bookstore, or go on Amazon, wherever, and order this book. There are other books you can order. You don't have to stick with just this book. There are other books you could order. But this is really helpful. You could, oh, that's a little bit of hair. But you could buy this book, $68.75 in EC dollars in our stores. Buy this book and help yourself. Alright, just spend 5 months doing the whole math course. Or you could stick with me. Stick with me, Miss B makes it easier. And just ride along. If you'd like, you could join my class. If you live in St. Kitts, you could join my classes. And you could get your passes in math. That rhymes. Alright, see you guys. Have fun. Practice. 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 Bye now.